Welcome back to Movies Recap. And Jae-woo struggles to fit in at the most elite high school in South Korea, where the 1% congregates. Even in math, which is considered as the most important subject to get into college, he is one level below the bottom of the class here among geniuses. He used to be the best student in his old, humble school. His classmates can afford tutors and boot camps because they are rich, but Jae-woo is on student welfare and can't afford such things. Math-woo's teacher, Mr. Kim Jun-ho, warns him that these grades won't be enough to enter a famous college and recommends transferring. Roommates Woo's offer him money one night so he may go out and buy beer and food for everyone. However, Jae-woo is apprehended by security guard Lee Hak-sung as he is on his way home. The next morning, Mr. Kim tries to get him to tell who else was involved in this plan. But Jae-woo respects loyalty and declines. His classmate Park Bo-ram sees this, but he is also momentarily banished from the dorms as a result. After class, his roommates want to thank him by giving him some money, but they are startled to see Jae-woo refuses because they are friends. However, since Hak-sung began working as a guard, it has been impossible to smuggle in late-night food via alternative routes. Because he is a North Korean defector, they refer to him as the commie officer. Later, Hak-sung goes to see his doctor, who tells him working as a night guard isn't good for his health and relying on sleeping pills causes his biorhythm to be off. Hak-sung reminds him that it's the only job he can get as a defector. The doctor can't get him a job somewhere else, so he'll take the pills. Hak-sung leaves and goes back to his lonely apartment where he spends his time feeding his turtle, drinking strawberry milk, and working Sudoku puzzles. The next day, Jae-woo is removed from the residences. On his way out, Bo-ram makes fun of him by saying that she had believed he may be more than just a loser, but it seems she was wrong. Jae-woo returns to his family's apartment a few hours later and cleans it up before his mother gets home from work. Being a widow who has always put in a lot of effort to raise him, she is really proud to see her son wearing such an important uniform. Jae-woo claims that he simply came to see her and that he needs to go back to the school before it is too late because he has the courage to tell her that he needs a place to stay. On his way home, it starts to rain, so Jae-woo tries to hide in the school's abandoned lab, but Hak-sung discovers him. The guard offers an offer for Jae-woo to come to his office after learning that he has nowhere to stay. Hak-sung discovers Jae-woo's very hard math homework when he is dozing off. When the sun turns up, Hak-sung kicks Jae-woo out. When the boy goes at his math class, he is shocked to see that Hak-sung has completed his homework and that all the answers are correct. Jae-woo is told to keep quiet after Bo-ram sees this and asks that she show the teacher. Jae-woo visits Hak-sung after class to express his thanks and request teaching, but Hak-sung simply expels him once again. Later, at the study area, Jae-woo hears that some of these math problems are difficult for even the private tutors of his classmates, showing how amazing Hak-sung is. Jae-woo begins to follow him around and asks to be educated, but Hak-sung ignores him. One afternoon, while he's taking out the trash, Hak-sung overhears the teachers talking about welfare students with uncaring parents and inferior complexes, and Mr. Kim includes Jae-woo on the list. When Jae-woo approaches him to ask tutoring once more, Hak-sung advises him to transfer and that developing self is not something you should do because it causes you to become focused on tragedy. Hak-sung gives in and agrees to teach Jae-woo after hearing him explain how unhappy it makes him that others have opportunities he cannot, with the condition that Jae-woo pay him with strawberry milk. The following day, Hak-sung goes to see his friend in Gi-cheol, who assisted him in going to South Korea because he works as Seoul's lead for supporting North Korean defectors. Together with enjoying board games and having conversations about life, Hak-sung insists on paying for the lamps Gi-cheol gave him as a gift because he didn't come to this country for charity. When night falls, Hak-sung puts the lamps inside the abandoned lab so he can teach Jae-woo in secret. There are 3 rules Jae-woo must follow. 1. Nobody must know about these classes. 2. No questions other than math. And 3. Hak-sung will teach math but he doesn't want to hear anything about grades or tests. After Jae-woo promises to follow all the rules, Hak-sung gives him the first exercise, finding the area of a triangle. Jae-woo solves it quickly, pointing out this is a middle school problem. But Hak-sung tells him he's wrong by drawing a full circle around the triangle. Jae-woo feels tricked and thinks it's unfair because Hak-sung gave him the wrong question. But Hak-sung is trying to make a point about how he's going about solving problems. Finding the solution is important, but what's more essential is comprehending the question itself. Finding a solution is the basic concept of mathematics. Hak-sung refers to the idea as epsilon when Jae-woo shows comprehension of it as he remembers receiving a nice pen as a gift for their academic ability when he was younger. Epsilon is a Greek letter that means small, trivial, even. Since Jae-woo still doesn't have a place to go after class, Hak-sung lets him stay with him. Jai-woo discovers that Hak-sung enjoys listening to classical music on an old tape player, so they have a brief conversation about classical composers to divert Jai-woo's regarding Hak past. The songs are played on Jai-woo's because the cassette is outdated and has poor sound quality. Hak-sung is attracted by the sound and gets a good night's sleep for the first time in a long time. The following morning, he doesn't get out of bed until after midnight. And when he does, Jai-woo has already left for class. For his math class, Mr. Kim has some big news. Instead of finals, his group will participate in the prestigious Pythagoras math competition, which will count as their grade. The teens aren't happy about this since they only have 2 months to practice, but Mr. Kim expects them all to win gold. Every day, Jai-woo visits Hak-sung for math lessons, and Bo-ram starts to notice how frequently Jai-woo buys strawberry milk, almost as if he were an addict. One evening, Jai-woo is given a particularly challenging task to complete, but Hak-sung explains that he expects him to manually add up all the answers. Jai-woo finally solves it after 3 hours. So Hak-sung shows him something special. Famed mathematician Bernhard Riemann calculated the square root of 2's 38 decimal places by hand in order to become familiar with the solving process, which is impossible to do by simply memorizing a formula. This is greatly helpful when it comes to a better understanding of math. Hak-sung refuses to tell Jai-woo if his answer is right or wrong because his homework will be to discover it himself. That's the job of a mathematician. As the weeks pass, Jai-woo improves his math skills more and more every day. One afternoon, he receives some devastating news. A close friend and fellow welfare student is transferring back to his old school, admitting having come here was never worth it. Now Jai-woo has some thinking to do about his own situation. And Bo-ram tries to hear him out, but he feels like she's making fun of him by saying they're in the same situation, when she's actually a rich kid too. Their conversation is interrupted when Bo-ram's mother comes to pick her up. When they get in the car, Bo-ram is scolded for hanging out with a welfare kid. Bo-ram is technically on welfare too because of her divorced parents, but she isn't on financial aid, so it isn't really the same. Her mother also scolds her for listening to piano music because she wants Bo-ram to concentrate on her studies, so she's hired Mr. Kim to be Bo-ram's private tutor, which is illegal. Later that night, Jai-woo tells Hak-sung about his friend and wonders if he should transfer too. Hak-sung encourages him not to give up and reminds him the most important thing to succeed isn't intelligence but courage to prevail until the end. Jai-woo is shown the exercises he fixed to show his point. Although the final solutions contain some errors, the boy has correctly learned how to solve them. Jai-woo goes to the dorms that same night when his ban is removed, but he acknowledges that he misses living with Hak-sung. Bo-ram gives him strawberry milk the following day along with a note of apologies. And when he becomes confused, she follows him to the abandoned lab and learns his secret. She asks if she can visit sometimes after thanking Hak-sung for looking for Jai-woo, and Hak-sung accepts as long as she does the same. Bo-ram also calls to him as a commie officer, which perplexes Hak-sung because he may be from North Korea, but he never served in the military. He was exempted for a reason he doesn't bother to explain. They then catch sight of some students sneaking about campus, but Hak-sung decides not to assist after learning what happened to Jai-woo the last time. Jai-woo asks Hak-sung one night as to why he worked so hard on his math studies. According to him, he initially did it for the scholarship and the benefit of his family, but as he learned more about it, the more beautiful he found it to be, the more he fell in love with it. Then, they asked Bo-ram to join Hak-sung at the piano so he can teach her a fun little trick. By giving each digit a different note, the two of them can play the number pi to create a lovely song. During the next math class, Jai-woo corrects Mr. Kim's answer to an exercise using the logic Hak-sung taught him about incorrect questions. However, Mr. Kim chastises him for it, saying that while the answer may be correct, it was not what the examiner had in mind, and that is the only worry the students should have, giving the anticipated response rather than the exact one. It's all about testing procedure, but Jai-woo rejects this and asserts that he will still provide the correct response on the exam. As a result of his rude behavior, Mr. Kim makes him wait outside the classroom for the rest of the class. Jai-woo then lets Mr. Kim know that he isn't leaving. Gi-cheol gives Hak-sung a smartphone so he can be tracked on one of his trips in the afternoon. Later, as Hak-sung excitedly shows it to Jai-woo, the young kid can't help but notice he's reading long theses on this tiny screen. To help, Jai-woo asks a classmate to sneak him into the computer lab so he can print the entire document and gift it to Hak-sung. The Pythagoras test is the next day. Hak lessons songs are helping Jai-woo greatly. And while Bo-ram begins by remembering the melody, she soon becomes frustrated. She succumbs to pressure and leaves the classroom without finishing the exam. To save her from embarrassment, her mother forces her to stay at home while lying to her school about their upcoming trip. All of Jai-woo texts her are returned unread. Jai-woo and Hak-sung attend a classical concert in the evening thanks to complimentary tickets Bo-ram obtained for them thanks to the support of her family's business. At least Hak-sung is moved to tears by it, even if Bo-ram never shows up. Afterward, Hak-sung invites Jae-woo to have dinner at his place, which makes Jae-woo realize this is the first time he sees Hak-sung eat. That same night, someone leaks the Pythagoras test on the internet, causing trouble for the teachers, who now must find the student that did it if they don't want the education board to fire them. Meanwhile, Jae-woo and Hak-sung go to a bookstore to do some shopping, and a stranger recognizes Hak-sung. This man also comes from North Korea and calls Hak-sung doctor, remembering him from the days Hak-sung taught classes at the university he attended. The man also calls Hak-sung the famous mathematical genius and thinks Jae-woo is his son, which puts them in an awkward situation. After giving the man a sincere thanks for the memory, Hak-sung hurries out the door without replying to Jae-woo's questions. When he comes home, Hak-sung reminisces about the fun times he used to have with his son Lee Tae-yeon, including their dinner dates, his trips to get the turtle, and his purchases of strawberry milk, which was Tae-yeon's favorite. The Riemann hypothesis, one of the most specific mathematical problems, is about to be solved by a famous North Korean named Lee Hak-sung, according to the important news that airs on television the following day. Up until this point, it has been under review by a board of scholars. On television, Professor Oh tells how, as a young student, he participated in a math Olympiad and met Hak-sung, who represented the North while Oh represented the South. They both were given a fancy pen by a famous mathematician, and Oh still has it to this day. Both Gi-cheol and Jae-woo are aware of the news, but Jae-woo is the one who finds out Hak-sung first to ask about it. Hak-sung berates him and tells him never to bring up the Riemann hypothesis anymore. In the meantime, Mr. Kim is suffering with the test event since his image is at risk. But he finds rescue when a coworker reviews the security footage after a student spread some rumors. The next day, Mr. Kim contacts Jae-woo to show him the recording of him leaving the computer lab undetected while holding some printed documents. Although Jae-woo tries to claim that the two are unrelated, he is unable to do so, in light of the audio evidence as well as the fact that he suddenly improved in math in a few months. Nobody will believe him, so Mr. Kim offers him a deal. If he accepts to transfer, he won't make his blame public. Sadly, the rumors of Jae-woo having done the leaking still reach everyone's ears, and Bo-ram gets upset about it because she knows the truth. Gi-cheol is having some trouble of his own, too. North Korea is angry that the South is taking Hak-sung's achievements, especially since these discoveries are tied to military encryption, so the NIS wants Gi-cheol to convince Hak-sung to appear on TV to clarify matters. Hak-sung's name is all over the news now. An old friend even pays him a visit to beg him to accompany him back to the North. However, he puts his foot in his mouth when he admits he's asking because bringing Hak-sung would earn him forgiveness too, and only manages to anger him by bringing up what happened to his son. Gi-cheol visits Hak-sung to offer his apologies for not keeping the NIS off of him, but Hak-sung is still grateful of the years of protection. Gi-cheol gives Hak-sung the document containing his research, which he tried to throw away years before, but Gi-cheol saved since it was too important to be thrown away. As he packs to leave town, Jae-woo also arrives at that time, but when he hears yelling, he decides to stay outside. Hak-sung is furious because it was this research that made him lose his kid, thus he won't show it on television. Jae-woo tries to talk to Hak-sung when Gi-cheol leaves, but the elderly man merely snaps at him and won't accept that they are any closer than tutor and student. After that, Jae-woo receives a call from an upset Bo-ram who questions why he's allowing them to frame him in this way. However, he simply tells her that the call is finished and hangs up. In the meantime, Hak-sung arrives at the bus terminal and starts to recall the night Tae-yeon passed away when he believes he saw his son's face on an unknown stranger. Tae-yeon began arguing with his father after getting into another altercation for standing up for other defectors, accusing him of making the trip to the South out of selfish motives because he didn't do so when his mother was suffering from tuberculosis. Although Tae-yeon argued that working menial tasks and being treated out, that doing entry jobs and being treated like dirt was far from a better life for a scholar, Hak-sung asserted that he did it to provide his son a better life. After wishing his dad to enjoy his life with only math as a company, Tae-yeon ran away and tried to go back to the North by swimming, but he was shot on sight by Border Patrol. Back to Jae-woo, he sneaks into his home to use her mother's stamp on the transfer papers while she's sleeping. The next morning, he hands the papers to Mr. Kim, who tells him he did the right thing. Hak-sung is hiding in a hotel while Gi-cheol searches for him to take him to the TV show, and he is surprised to get a call from Bo-ram telling him about Jae-woo's transfer. That afternoon is the Pythagoras Award ceremony. Jae-woo is on his way out of the school, but Bo-ram suddenly arrives and drags him with her to the auditorium by stealing his stuff. Hak-sung decides to interrupt Professor Oh's opening speech about the recently confirmed hypothesis because he has just come over to the school after putting his turtle on the river. He shows Professor Oh his pen as identification, and she accepts him warmly and gives him permission to speak as well. Hak-sung, after making a joke about his responsibilities as a guard, admits that he was the one who taught Jae-woo arithmetic and offers the written thesis as evidence that he didn't give the results of the test. Additionally, he says that Mr. Kim was the one who told his private students about the test, which makes Mr. Kim flee angry and ashamed. Then, Hak-sung shares a bit of his story. He defected North Korea so he could study math properly, because his own government was using his research to build weapons. He wants his math to be used to find jobs and get into good colleges, but such greed cost him his son's life. Hak-sung feels bad about his decisions. But Jae-woo never thought that way about him and remained loyal to keeping his secret all the way through, even if it meant risking his future. Hak-sung apologizes to Jae-woo and expresses gratitude for her support while crying. Such a speech makes. While listening the entire time, Gi-cheol leaves without even asking about the television interview. He does, however, wait outside for Hak-sung and offer to drive him. Gi-cheol gives Hak-sung a surprise after destroying the smartphone he had given him, a new, legitimate passport designating Hak-sung as a South Korean citizen and tickets for him to leave the city so the NIST can't track him for a while. Gi-cheol believes it's worthwhile even though he'll probably get fired for it. Later, Gi-cheol pays a visit to Jae-woo to give the present Hak-sung left for him, which includes the famous pen and the initial version of his thesis. Jae-woo and his college class make a visit to the famous Oberwolfach Research Institute for Mathematics 3 years later. Now that Hak-sung is working there, Jae-woo greets him with some strawberry milk and a hug before starting a long talk on math. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.